I'm running for president because I think our government is completely broken. I think it's been bought by corporations. I think they get everything they want. I think that the idea of government of, by, and for the people is over. And we have to get it back.
Welcome to Be Less Stupid. I'm your host, Jon Hotchkiss. Let's get right to it. This week, I was in Compton, California, where Democratic presidential candidate Tom Steyer was interviewed before a crowd of about 100 people on the campus of Compton College.
So when you say, what do I think we need to do to restore the American dream? We basically have to take back the government. And so what is, look, this government is broken and you can look at anything you want. But if we actually get this government back, and I do have specific structural things I think we need to do, but if we do, we're going to get every single thing that people now think we need to reach for. And we're going to get it as an absolute right for every American and a foundation for every family.
By now, you've noticed that in the two previous Tom Steyer clips, I had Tom on one side of the screen, and on the other side, there were panda bears playing in the snow. By the way, that is not an editing error. I am not drunk or whacked out on ayahuasca. No.
We're the only advanced country in the world that does not have health care as a right for every citizen. The only one. And we're the richest country. And they're like, we can't afford that. It's like, really? Every other country can afford it but us.
I put the pandas in there because everyone loves pandas. Their videos get millions and millions of views. I put the pandas in the video because Tom Steyer's message about climate change and infrastructure, well, it's just boring. And that is why it is not breaking through all the voices of the other, what is it now, like 50 other Democratic candidates. You see, what Tom Steyer is saying is actually pretty important. However, nobody is listening. In fact, all but 1% of the Democratic voters are ignoring Tom Steyer. And by the way, I'm not here to tell you you should vote for him. I'm saying that if you care about America and our future, you should at the very least hear what he has to say. And then, by the way, if you want to dismiss him, that is totally your right as an American. At least for now, Americans can still vote for whomever they like.
Look, one of the things that makes me so crazy about this administration is they don't really have a plan. He uses immigration just to make racism popular with his base. As I like to say, there's no wall on the border to Canada. But we should have look, we need people to come to this country. People have always come to this country. We need people to come to this country.
My point, I figured if I wanted people to hear Tom Steyer, I could hook them with the cute pandas playing in the snow, which they like, and then by osmosis, they would also hear Tom Steyer's message.
Clean air and clean water. Look, nobody has the right to poison you or your family so they can be richer. It's not, everyone has a right to clean air and clean water.
Tom Steyer's problem, you see, is that he's just not an exciting speaker. He doesn't raise his voice. He's not screaming. He doesn't chant, lock him up. At his events, his supporters aren't fighting or chanting. No, they're reading Politico on their phones. And since Donald Trump has been elected, we've come to expect a certain level of theatrics in our politicians. We want them to be like professional wrestlers, right? We all want to hear Elizabeth Warren say, "I will get you, Joe Biden! You are weak on health care!" This, by the way, even though Steyer's skill as a performer has nothing to do with the kind of leadership that he would bring to the White House, the course that he would set for our country, or the kind of decisions that he would make as our commander-in-chief. Look, the problem is, you know how in Spinal Tap they had an amp that went to 11? Steyer's amp maxes out at like 3. Forgive the interruption, I have some breaking news. As I was writing these words that you're hearing me say right this minute, I got an emergency alert on my phone there was a wildfire that had just broken out near my house in Southern California. So I did what anyone facing an emergency would. I very quickly grabbed my camera and raced to the fire. I got in the car, got as close as I could, then I ran the rest of the way. And just before I got to the fire, I did, quite frankly, the dumbest thing that I've ever done in my life. I ran across the 405 freeway. There are 5 lanes in both directions. This is the busiest and most crowded highway in America, and it was rush hour. The point is, if my wife sees this video, she's going to divorce me. Anyway, here is a little bit of what I was able to capture of the Sepulveda Basin fire yesterday afternoon, just a few miles from downtown Los Angeles.
What? That was incredibly stupid. But really interesting, I'll say that.
Now, assuming there are no more interruptions, let's return to Tom Steyer. Although Steyer is polling at just 1%, I'm here today to encourage you to give him a second look, because this guy is smart and he has good ideas. For the last 10 years, he's taken on big business, the Republican Party, and federal regulations that hurt working class families, and he's won over and over again.
It costs $84,000 in California to keep someone imprisoned, and we spend $14,000 a year on kids in school. So when we think about, as a society, how much better it is, how worth it is, how much time, money, effort we can lavish on kids who are struggling to keep them on that path, as opposed to get them into the criminal justice system, I think we have to realize that we're using our priorities entirely wrong.
Tom Steyer is a billionaire. He's gotten Democrats elected to Congress. His donations and his advocacy have made climate change a priority. In the last 5 years, he's donated nearly $200 million to Democratic candidates. And since 2017, he spent $10 million on ads that will encourage people to impeach President Trump. And there's one more thing that you should know about Tom Steyer. If you watched the last Democratic debate, you saw Steyer wearing a tie that was different from the ties worn by the other candidates. Instead of wearing a solid blue or a red one, he was wearing this kind of weird plaid tie. It's not something that you see very often on a professional politician. Well, I did a little research into that tie. And by the way, what I'm about to tell you is 100% true. The pattern on that tie is the tartan of the Wallace clan in Scotland. And who, you might ask, is the Wallace clan? Well, you remember the movie Braveheart with Mel Gibson? Mel plays William Wallace, the knight who was the leader of the Scottish army in their first battle for independence from Britain. The pattern on that tie is the same as the tartan or crest of a great Scottish hero. So from now on, when you see Tom Steyer, I want you to think of this.
That they may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom!
Albagubra, indeed. For Be Less Stupid, I'm your host, Jon Hotchkiss. If you enjoy my work, you can show your appreciation and your solidarity with other like-minded liberals by getting yourself a Be Less Stupid t-shirt. You can find them on our website. Just click the shop button in the menu bar. And one other thing, by the way, if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to this channel. Share this video on social media, and if you don't mind, tell a friend or two to check out the channel. The more subscribers, well, that makes it possible for me to keep doing this at no cost to you. Thank you all for watching. I will see you next time on Be Less Stupid.
In my opinion, I've spent 10 years thinking about this. Why is our government broken? It's because it's bought. That's why it's broken. It's working perfectly for the corporations. Yes. And so, who are you going to trust to unbreak it? And my argument is, I've been doing this for 10 years. We've been winning for 10 years. I know how to do this. I'm from the outside. I've been doing this full time. And the question is, do you trust me, or do you trust one of the senators on stage?